Greetings, YouTube! If you are looking for an honest Kirby review, you're going to get one. If you are looking for a quick Kirby review, that's not going to happen here. Maybe I'll edit one down in the future, but this is going to be a lengthy video. If you're looking to find the best vacuum for your house, this is least likely is probably not going to be it. Definitely check out my playlist on vacuum reviews. I'll put a link down below. Speaking of links down below, I have almost 2,000 followers, maybe over now on YouTube, and thank you guys. And thank you guys for thumbs upping these videos. But there is something that needs attention, and that is my Instagram account. I post all sorts of things on Instagram. I also post them on Patreon, but the Instagram account right now is the thing that's going on. I've taken so many snidbits here and there, it's actually kind of growing. But I still have less than 200 followers. That means less than 10% of you guys. So, and girls, but most of you are guys. I do read my YouTube statistics. So please go ahead and follow us on Instagram if you like us. Again, if you're looking to find the best vacuum review or a Kirby salesman is in your house, kick your Kirby salesman out and go check out that playlist I have on vacuum reviews. So let's get to the review of what a Kirby is. A Kirby is a beast. In fact, the gentleman who loaned me this machine, he calls it a Kirby's, and it is. It is 23 pounds. It is made in the U.S., and then unnecessary use of aluminum. I say unnecessary because plastic would be far better for most things on this vacuum. I've just got a lid right here, but just going to show how that flexes. That allows for a little give. It also is a lot lighter weight, plastic is. This has no give, which means this can crack, snap, bend, and scrape. So that's a thing. The other thing about Kirby's is, even though the outside is mostly aluminum, now the newer Avalirs, they did make the lower section here that's black, that's plastic on the G11s, but on this G6, which is mechanically the same, it's aluminum. So you can see the fan where it moves all the dust through, blows it into the bag. This is not a bypass machine. This is a direct air machine. You go, oh shoot, I just puffed air out of there. So you can see part of the problem with direct air is it gets stuff everywhere. So direct air is also very loud. It allows the fan to break if stuff gets stuck in there. You also can't make as precise a fan or as advanced of a fan, which means you're limited in airflow and suction, as I'll show later on with the working water lift test and a comparison test. The other thing about this is it requires belt changes, and you have to change these belts approximately every 1 to 4 months, because debris will chew up these belts, and these are just glorified rubber bands. And the belt's in there, and I'll show you how to change that later. And you'll also see that the brush roller is wood, just like your budget Hoover. So that's kind of off-putting that a vacuum that is sold door to door, and these are sold door to door for a lot of money. In fact, never pay a door-to-door salesman what they are asking for these. They will sell them between $1,200 and $2,500. Don't pay that for this. It's not worth it. These pop up on the secondhand market all the time. Go find yourself a used one. If you're worried about warranty, go find a reputable vacuum shop. They'll have a refurbished one for about between $400 and $500 usually for refurbished, lightly used. But again, you can find these on Craigslist. You can find these in Goodwill. These are out there. And there is so little difference between this G6, a G3, the original one that came out in 1989, and then the Avalir 2 that came out in 2018. There's so little difference that I'm not going to do a review on every one. We're just doing the review on this. This does have the updated emptier, which increased airflow a little bit. Other than that, it's basically the same machine with self-propel. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some tests. I'm going to vacuum the house. You're going to see a lot of content here about Kirby life. And they can be had for a wide variety of pricing. move the hand tools aside. Typically, customers will tell me anywhere between about 1,200 up to about 2,500 is what you usually see a Kirby sold door to door. It all depends on the salesman and you know, how he's doing that week or month or however their pay period is. And they're well-built machines. Some parts are overbuilt, some parts are quite actually underbuilt, especially compared to some of the other vacuums. And it's an old design. They've been selling the same Kirby design since 1989, and it's now 2018. So, you know, they've really gotten their money's worth out of this design. There have been minor changes over the years. They've changed, you know, where the lighting is, you know, the type of bag it takes now that we have HEPA. They've upgraded to LED lighting. And at some point they upgraded the airflow chamber of what used to be an emptier is now just a straight path. So that's why I decided to do a review on this, not a G3 or G4, as this has the newer style emptier on it. Other than that, it's exactly the same. So first of all, now we're going to go back in time. 1989. Thing to know about Kirby is you must change the belt. In fact, you're not changing it once a year. You're going to change it every 1 to 3 months typically. Sometimes 4 months if you're careful. And I'm going to show you why. Now, if you're thinking about getting Kirby and you're not mechanically minded, this is not the machine for you. Go on down and take a look at one of my other reviews. I have a playlist titled Budget Vacuum Reviews and a playlist titled High-End Vacuum Reviews. Go check one of those videos out. So let's get back to the Kirby. So let's talk about what the Kirby is and its controls that are old school, though some are relevant. So I think the number one thing is you have a height adjustment that moves it up and down, and then you end up adjusting this quite a bit with, there is no auto adjustment. The thing that makes a Generation series, now if I do that with it off, because it's a 23-pound machine, it's heavy, is it's got a self-propel. So that's kind of a big deal. The other thing that's very unique to Kirby is they are probably one of the last vacuums out there besides Oric that are widely selling what we call direct air machines. So I'm going to take the nozzle off, and again I'm making this look easy. They do put some instructions on there, but they're not clear to most people. You do have center feed suction, so that's a good thing. But again, you have a belt that constantly needs to be changed, and we'll explain that here in a second. But what we mean by direct air machine is it's actually moving all the air through a fan, blowing it into the bag. And this isn't done really much anymore for a couple reasons. One is rocks, metal objects, and things can get in here and break the fan chamber, and that's a hassle. 2 is noise. 3 is power. As I will show later on in this video, that this just doesn't have the power of a lot of new vacuums. So direct air machines generally don't. Bypass machines both supersede them in airflow and in working water lift and in water lift. And if you're wondering what those things are, you're going to have to go Google them. Or you can check out my video on working water lift where I explain how to measure vacuums. So it's blowing it into this bag, and this bag is rather large, and it's a HEPA bag. So, and for my demo, I changed it to a new bag. So all the vacuum you see will have a new bag fitted to it, just to be fair. You also have a fill tube, which is a place, because air is blowing through it, if it gets a hole in it, it's going to blow dust out. Where most vacuums, if they get a hole in the hose, it's not a big deal. It's negative air pressure. This actually has positive air pressure, so it's kind of weird. And I'm looking here, and I'm seeing some dust and dirt, and I recently cleaned this out before the video, so that tells me that my my Kirby is leaking a little bit of dust. I've got another video also where I hand polished this Kirby, so you can see it looks good. Now I had done the ultimate sin. Show you how that goes back on. Is that I nicked during the video right here, and I apologize, but it's just bugs the crap out of me noticing it on the bench. All right, so you've heard me talk a whole lot about the Kirby. We're now going to talk about how to change the belt in this machine, because it's a big part of Kirby life. So you want to lift the light up. You want the height adjustment all the way in the up position. You're going to rotate this out, move it to the red position from the green position. You're going to remove the nozzle. Now, the older ones had a diagram that explained the different positions of the brush roller, which is adjustable for wear. The newer Kirbys do not have this, so see your manual. So this rocks off. And then you can get to the belt and the brush roller. In fact, we're going to just clean this off where the hair was over the belt. And that leads us to another problem with the Kirby design, is because it's sucking all the stuff through the belt chamber, random debris objects will chew up the belt. Now, you can see these brush rollers are marked with different end caps to show you the adjustability. And again, you're going to refer to this chart to put that on. Alright, so we're going to put this back in properly, and I explained the 1, 2, 3. And this brush is on a, let's say a 3. There's not really a whole lot there in terms of wear on the brush because it was new. Apparently, before I took on this Kirby for a project, it was fitted with a new brush roller, because these wooden brush rollers do wear. So now it's on there. You saw how I rocked that on. Again, I think I'm making this probably look easier than most consumers. So it would appear the belt is on. It's actually off. You can see it's loose in there. So we're going to lift that up. And now the belt is in the off position, which is where you can now put it on the cleaner. You will rock. Again, rock it on the cleaner. And turn the belt lifter. So keep in mind, if you have a Kirby, you're going to be doing that on a regular basis. Now, as far as controls of what's on a Kirby, that's the other thing, is you have a real interesting setup. You have a drive pedal, drive neutral pedal, and these have been known to fall out of the machine over time, so just keep that in mind. That's something that's easily fixed, but it does occasionally need to be fixed. Also, there's a silicone gasket in between the housing in the front of the fan housing and the actual housing of the unit. That gasket will rot over time and stuff will go through it, so that needs to be replaced occasionally. There's also an inner gasket in here off where the motor sits on the fan housing and main housing. So those are things that need to be changed occasionally. We're talking 5, 10, 15 years down the line. We're not talking obsessively. And the thing about a Kirby is they last a very long time, or at least they're supposed to. I don't believe a Kirby, why the aluminum housing will last for a fair amount of time. Again, it scratches up. It's really not as sturdy as some of the plastics, I'd even say. And you can say, well, metal's more sturdy than plastic. Well, plastics, when you hit plastic, they tend to bend and bow, and they're a little bit more pliable, which we found to be better in vacuum cleaner application. They also make it lighter weight. This machine is 23 pounds. I know I've said that a few times. It's really heavy. To put that in perspective, an S7 is like 20 and a half, 21 pounds. So that was the heavyweight vacuum, but these are really just heavy. They're also pretty loud. I'm going to turn around, and it must be adjusted, so I'm going to adjust that here. You'll get to watch that. Now the other thing about the Kirby is the handle does detach, and you can see how that detaches there, so that you can convert it to do all sorts of things. Now when the hose has to go on a Kirby, you know that the hose can fit on the front, like I took the cover off, and we'll show that later on. With the hose also, a Kirby has one feature that I don't particularly like, which is it's a blower as well. And you say, oh great, you know, I'm going to use my vacuum as a blower. Well, the reason I stopped doing that is all that dust that's stuck in the hose that you sucked up is now going to blow right back out the unit. So you can see just by attaching it, the dust that fell right there. So that's something, you're really not going to ever use that blower function. It's not that powerful of a motor really for a blower. Your air compressor will be far superior. So that's not something you're actually really going to use. So who is a Kirby for, then? Well, a Kirby, the ideal Kirby person is somebody who wants the look of the aluminum. There's somebody who is strong. There's somebody who isn't worried about performance, because as I will show in this video, the performance is mediocre. So really, the reason people buy Kirbys is they're financed to them, and somebody came door to door who is a very good salesperson. So let's get on to the testing part of this video, the real world application of this machine. This machine compared to another machine, just for the fun of it. This machine compared to the Heritage 2, which was its predecessor. So let's talk about how to change a Kirby bag and what that involves, because it's definitely kind of ancient by today's standards. Genuine package of Kirby bags. This one was available at the local vacuum shop where I get a discount, but the retail price there was $34.95 for 6. And this is a Micron Magic Bag, just to give you an idea. It's very, very large, though it's kind of almost center fill. It's not quite top fill, but closer to top fill than bottom fill for sure. And you can see that there's no closing on the bag. There's some loose latex, but nothing like the old Electrolux bags we saw in the late 40s to present. And some of the Kirbys they twist and lock on. Some of the newer style you fold this and it will lock on. That's called an F style. They consolidated the two styles in the newer package of Kirby bags. So first thing we're going to do is unzip the bag. You can see it's right about at the full. So that's as full as I want to do it. And because I'm going to do some pickup tests, I want to make sure we have a clean Kirby bag. But I want to explain, and you can see the dust flopping in the air from that. So then you're going to fold that up and get the nastiness out of the way, but the dust has already escaped into the air. Because unlike Sebo, Miele, 1940s Electrolux, most modern vacuums, there's no seal on the bag for some reason. So you can see there's still some residual dust around there, which you can wipe off with a rag if it's really bad. So we're going to put this on. Now the dust is in the air, and you're just going to twist this on, like so. Bag's on. It's important to check. The other thing you want to check when changing a Kirby bag is you want to check this hose and make sure there are no leaks or holes in that hose, as this fill tube does tend to get damaged over time. I'm just going to tuck that in, zip her back up. Alright, the luggage scale has been turned to 0. The attachments are off it, the cord is off it. We're going to weigh the Kirby. So about 23, 22 pounds it looks like with the cord off. Alright, stair cleaning with the Kirby. It looks like we're joined by the beautiful Fuffa dog, who's scared to death of the vacuums. So what we're going to do, we're going to convert it. Again, you spend a lot of time when you have a Kirby converting it back and forth for stair use. Now there is a handle, and I'll explain that in a minute. But we have this right here. So now we've shed some weight, and we're going to try and balance it on the stairs, but it doesn't balance on my stairs. So if you have a long flight of stairs, this might be a problem. We're going to see if it will spin up a vs.dyson turbo. Alright, well you can see that that's quite awkward to use on the stairs, and you can see that the hose is not very long. They do make a longer one. It is a standard 1.25 inches, so making a longer hose I guess wouldn't be hard, but for the price of this, it sure is harder to use on the stairs than say a canister vacuum, or even when we compare it to uprights that aren't meant for stair use. Again, we're going to compare it to the U1. It certainly is hard to use. Now, the other way you can use this on the stairs is they make a handle that fits on top of the Kirby. So what you're supposed to do, put this back on. Now we have to convert it. I don't have the handle that would go with this. We're just going to show you how that would work with my Heritage 2. It's similar in terms of the idea. And you would pull the handle off. So you're pulling this part of the vacuum off, setting it aside, and then attaching this part. And this is, again, this is the idea that Kirby still wants you doing today, is that you would have, this is what you're going to hold. So I established that this weighs about 18 pounds on the Heritage 2. I cannot imagine how much more it would weigh having the transmission from the Generation series, since that is a heavier vacuum. So that's how you're supposed to do stairs with a Kirby. I don't reckon anybody really does this, but just to show what that looks like. you know, any generation series really. So what I've put on the floor, and I've measured out as always. We've got some flour, we've got some cereal. Now, at a request of a viewer, I have added some rice. We have cat litter, and then of course we have some dog hair as well. So we're going to see what this Kirby does with all of this and how it picks up. I'm going to go over each thing and then pull back, or maybe two things and then pull back, just to get an idea of what each thing does. There is some space in between each object as well. Alright, let's start the pickup test. As you can see, it kind of snow plowed a little bit out of light, out of frame. So we're going to go up real close. Excuse the camera shake, but I think it's important that you guys can see this is unedited. You can see the breakfast cereal and the cat litter it really struggled with, and then some more cat litter as well. Now I know this is going to upset a lot of folks, but the Kirby is not the best performer when it comes to picking up bigger objects. And there's two reasons for that. One is it doesn't have a lot of water lift, so it doesn't actually have the ability to pick up heavy objects. Two is nozzle design. With this nozzle, you can see quite clearly there's no space for bigger stuff to go in. So once you've adjusted it properly to the carpet, here and here, it's going to suck to the carpet and not really allow anything but from the edge. The other is that the nozzle does not have any sort of rounding or anything for efficient use of airflow. So that makes things like this basically get trapped in the nozzle. You can see that right there. There's some rice, and that stuff will get trapped in the nozzle. You see, I left it on for quite some time afterwards too. So again, that's what happens when you have lack of water lift. So what that essentially does is that stuff will bounce around in the nozzle. It will eventually get some of it, but there will always be stuff bouncing around in this nozzle, which kind of creates a sandblaster effect on the surface that you're cleaning. Now the other thing that we can see right clearly right here is that there is a lot of kickback and sand and stuff because it doesn't have the airflow and the suction to pull up all the stuff it's shaking with the brush roller. It's actually pulling a lot of that stuff and throwing it back into the room before it gets in the cleaner of the nozzle. And that's something that older cleaners would do. Hardly any of the newer bypass motors have any trouble with that. And that's just, again, some technology. But this is originally was designed in the late 80s. And they first came out with this idea in '89. And they're still producing it in 2018. So that's kind of an analogy of why it didn't pick up all that stuff. And there is a point of view camera on here as well, so you'll get to see that footage as well. But that's why it doesn't pick up well with big stuff. Now, it did excellent on the fine stuff. It did excellent on the pet hair. So the surface dirt, essentially, and the deep down stuff, it gets some of that. We're going to go vacuum with another vacuum, and I'll show you what it left behind. So we're going to do something that's not scientific, but it's going to illustrate my point. Is we're going to take a white rag, brand new, pulled it out of the package, and we're going to put this on the intake of a straight suction vacuum with a bypass motor, which we know, thanks to the working water lift, makes a whole lot more power than the Kirby does. So we're just going to tuck it in right here. And this is not particularly good for my Mila, but again, I really want to kind of illustrate that point. So I've tucked that in. I'm going to close that. I think it's going to make a seal. We'll see. We're just going to... So we're just going to vacuum over that same spot and see what we get. Do 2 passes real quick. Oh, I might have to service my Mila after that. Some of the stuff got out. But I just want to show what the Kirby left behind, because this is what Kirby salesmen do. And all vacuums will leave stuff behind, but not having enough water lift on a vacuum. I know airflow pulls out the fine stuff, but you can see this is all the stuff we just put down, this rice and all that. Now, before I started this test, I did vacuum with the Kirby, and a couple days ago I had vacuumed with my central vac. I didn't want to use the central vac for this test because I thought it would be unfair to compare something that's not a portable vacuum that we know is significantly more power. But I thought another portable vacuum that's actually cheaper than a Kirby we would compare. And again, this is without a brush roller. This is just what's there. The cat has decided to join us. Again, just going to zoom in so that you guys can see what the Kirby left behind. So that's why I say the Kirby is not as powerful as a lot of the modern vacuums out there. I'm sure there'll be plenty of comments below. I'll love to read them. As a bonus, there's some rice and other stuff that was stuck in the vacuum because it escaped the gasket. So I guess it left even more stuff behind. Well, we're going to talk about bare floors and Kirbys because they're really not compatible, not easily. So I was simply wheeling this Kirby in neutral, not plugged in, to my carpet to start this review, and you can see this nice skid mark left by the Kirby. And I'm going to show you the wheels are not worn out or anything. I don't have the hubcaps on, but the wheels are not worn out. They're almost factory new. When you look at these, there's nothing on there. That's just simply how it was made and why I don't recommend using these on bare floor, or really even having them around if you have wood floors like mine. Now, I'm sure if you have tile, that might not be as much of an issue, but something worth noting. So one of the questions I have gotten repeatedly on my YouTube channel by some people who I suppose were not paying attention to some of the other videos I made, or really the user manual. The bottom of the Kirby is metal. So some people seem to think if you're going to use it on bare floor, you could just flip the belt and go to town. Let me explain to you why that's not okay. So that, I hope that scraping that you heard on my tile floor, which I would never do to my wood floor, of this metal bottom plate, and you can see it's freshly scraped up. There's some metal shavings right there for you. That gives you an idea what it does if you use it on bare floor. Now that I've scraped my Kirby, I'll end up having to polish my base plate. But that gives you an idea why you wouldn't want to use one of these on bare floor. Now, something else I noticed is that the vent here blew a lot of the stuff quite far away. So that's that was an unintended consequence of that demonstration, but you can see it's not really meant for bare floor. Now, the other way we could try to adjust it, use it on bare floor, was I could just leave a little bit of gap. So now I can just hear the brushes turning. Let's see what happens now. So we've done the same thing, where we've relocated breakfast cereal right there and now behind the vacuuming. So now I have to go get a wand out and actually do the vacuuming. So that's why you always want to use the attachments for your Kirby when you use it on bare floor. Well, it's time to go to bare floor, and I want to explain, like I did in some of my other Kirby videos, what needs to be done now. Because this nozzle is metal, it will scratch my bare floor, we now have to convert it. So we're going to take that off, put the hose on, tank the self-propel off. In this case I have the tools ready to go. The Kirby actually gives you a two-piece wand. Say you want to go back to carpet? Well, we're going to have to reverse that process. Take this off, move the tools aside, make sure the nozzle's fully up. And now we're ready to carpet clean almost. So you can see that that's a little cumbersome. Alright, we're going to do a pickup test on wood floor. And just to mention that we are not going to use the Kirby bare floor tool because it doesn't work worth a darn. So I've fitted a vs.dyson floor tool, which I've compared how it works on my central vac on other videos, so you can see that. Of course, we have measured out the same amount of flour, breakfast cereal, rice, pet hair, and I almost forgot the cat litter. I knew I was forgetting something. So we'll measure out some cat litter as well. Evenly spread it. So I measured out some cat litter, and this is what we're using to measure it, of course. Just to give it, again, trying to be as consistent as possible. So let's give Kirby its go. we see very much the same results we saw on the carpet here. Is that you can see with the heavier objects that it kind of left some of this stuff behind. So that's something just to mention on the Kirby. So that's what the Kirby was able to do. And then I had a little bit of overspray on this side, so we'll just ignore that. Let's do the Mila. Just to show what's on the bottom of the Mila. A little bit of hair got caught. We can see that between the two, in terms of bare floor cleaning, we can perfectly see, and we'll pick up the camera and we'll show you. This is what the Kirby left. And that's what the Mila left. So there's a lot less stuff there. Again, these are extreme messes we're doing. But that's the difference between a bypass vacuum and a direct air machine. And we see very much the same results we saw on the carpet here. Is that you can see with the heavier objects that it kind of left some of this stuff behind. So that's something just to mention on the Kirby. So that's what the Kirby was able to do. And then I had a little bit of overspray on this side, so we'll just ignore that. Let's do the Mila. Just to show what's on the bottom of the Mila. A little bit of hair got caught. We can see that between the two, in terms of bare floor cleaning, we can perfectly see, and we'll pick up the camera and we'll show you. This is what the Kirby left. And that's what the Mila left. So there's a lot less stuff there. Again, these are extreme messes we're doing. But that's the difference between a bypass vacuum and a direct air machine. So I'm going to explain how the working water lift meter, which is a commercially available device, and how that kind of explains our results. We're going to call that 25 on the working water lift gauge. And we'll also just do a quick suction test just to show what that looks like. So that was at 30, we're going to call it 30. It was more like 29. We're going to call it 30 on the working water lift. On the water lift, we're going to call it 25 on the working water lift. Now, just for reference, we're going to use another commercially widely available machine. It's a different fitting, so that's as best we're going to do. It might not be as accurate as we want. So, walking water lift with the Mila. going to call that 49. Suction with the Miele, we're going to call that about 70. So that might explain the cleaning tests a little bit to you, and how when we use the working water lift to test just the motor, we're not testing the brush roller or air path design in the nozzle. We're strictly just testing the motor strength, which is the usable airflow. So the actual vacuum and cleaning power that's actually getting to the nozzles measured with working water lift. So, and these are variable from VacuFlow. These are actually designed to test central vacuums to see if they were efficiently enough to installed or powerful enough for the house, which is what this is actually used for. But it is the best way to test a vacuum, not a CFM gauge, not some wacky-dacky box that you made at home with duct tape that doesn't work. Working water lift actually will represent the cleaning ability of the machine. Now I'm going to turn this Kirby on. I've got the Miele running. I'm going to show you one other thing. That's right. A bypass vacuum will actually, and this could be, I could use a Hoover. Again, I'm just using the Miele for control. We'll actually suck the Kirby's motor and run it almost in reverse, if not in reverse. So if we were to battle these two literally in a tug of war, a bypass machine would definitely win. Alright, so I just want to do a quick comparison test between a Heritage 2 and a Generation, because I really don't think there's going to be a pickup difference. And I've got this on 2 angles, so you guys will get to see it nice and good. Again, we've got our animal hair, our flour, breakfast cereal, and cat litter. I didn't have enough room on this low pile carpet section to do the rice with this. So let's start with the Generation series. Alright, let's move on to the Heritage. And as you can see, they cleaned about the same. They really did. There's no real noticeable difference between them all. And like I said before, they have the same fan. Let's move on to the Heritage. And as you can see, they cleaned about the same. They really did. There's no real noticeable difference between them all. And like I said before, they have the same fan. Well, thank you for watching. If you've put through all that entirely long video, give this video a thumbs up, check out our Instagram, and big shout out, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. The Patreon supporters are those who donate to the channel, who help make things possible, because YouTube has not done the advertising revenue that they once did. So we really appreciate all the Patreon supporters, and if you're not familiar with Patreon, go ahead and check that out in the link below. Check out our Instagram, our Facebook, give this video a like, and subscribe.